Welcome back to the Malaysia Money Matters Show, everyone. It's November 26th, 2024.
Almost December 2024 already.
I know, right? Time flies. Anyway, today we're going to be diving deep into some fascinating company news.
Right here in Malaysia.
Right here in Malaysia.
Yeah.
You got it. And of course, we'll also take a look at some global events and political happenings that might just be making waves in our market. Ready?
Absolutely. Feels like there's a lot to cover today. Major investments, potential shifts, everything.
Okay, so let's kick things off with Hyundai.
Okay.
Big news. Huge investment in Malaysia. We're talking billions of ringgit here.
Wow.
And what I find interesting is they're not just putting up another factory.
Right.
They're setting up a whole operation, plans to release a bunch of different models over the next few years. What do you make of all this? What does it mean for our car industry?
Well, it's a significant move, for sure. Could signal a few things. Maybe Malaysia is becoming more and more attractive for foreign investment, especially in the car sector. I mean, Hyundai's choice to base their operations here.
With the capacity to produce so many models, it could make Malaysia a regional hub.
Makes sense.
For manufacturing and distribution.
That's exciting. And this could even have a ripple effect on other industries too, right?
Exactly.
Like all those parts suppliers and logistics companies.
A large operation like this needs a whole ecosystem to support it. Job creation, economic growth.
Yeah.
Beyond just the automotive industry itself.
And this comes at a time when we're seeing all this progress with the Malaysia-Korea Free Trade Agreement.
Oh, that's right. It seems to be gaining some real momentum.
Yeah. The Prime Minister sounded pretty optimistic about getting that deal finalized.
He did.
So what kind of impact could that have for Malaysian businesses? Especially if it means easier trade with South Korea.
Well, for starters, we could see reduced taxes on goods traded between both countries.
Okay.
This would make Malaysian products more competitive in South Korea.
Right.
And potentially open up new markets for businesses.
Yep.
And on the flip side, it could make certain goods from South Korea more affordable here. So potentially a win-win for both countries.
Potentially.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second and talk about Affin Bank. Huge chunk of the company's shares changed hands recently. We're talking billions here.
Big money.
And looks like the Sarawak State government is increasing their ownership stake in the bank. What's the strategy there, do you think?
It's an interesting development for sure. By increasing their stake, the Sarawak State government likely wants more influence over Affin Bank's decisions and direction. Could be part of a broader strategy, investing in key sectors, driving economic growth within Sarawak. It's still early days, though.
Right.
We'll have to see how this all plays out.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, let's move on to IJM Corporation.
Okay.
Pretty bold move expanding into the UK construction market. They're buying a stake in a company with a huge project list.
Wow.
That's a big step. What do you make of this?
Well, it shows that IJM is looking to diversify and grow beyond Malaysia. And this UK company already has a strong presence and a large number of projects lined up. IJM gets a piece of the action.
Right.
But of course, anytime a company expands internationally, there are risks involved, different regulations, potentially adapting operations to a new market.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Trying to grow while managing all those risks. Now, here's another company going global, Mr. DIY.
Oh, yeah.
Their Indonesian branch is getting ready for a massive public offering. And it could be one of the biggest we've seen in Indonesia.
Yeah.
What does this tell us about the Indonesian market, and what does it mean for Mr. DIY?
This IPO could be a huge boost for Mr. DIY. Allows them to raise capital to fuel their expansion in Indonesia. Yeah. And aiming for such a large offering suggests that they see enormous potential in the Indonesian market.
Right.
A rapidly growing economy with a large,
huge,
and increasingly affluent population.
So while Mr. DIY is moving into Indonesia, we have RHB Bank pulling out of Thailand.
Interesting.
They're selling off their business. They're streamlining operations. Is this a sign of things to come?
It's definitely a strategic decision on RHB's part.
Okay.
And it could signal a shift in how some Malaysian companies approach their regional strategies.
Yeah.
You know, they might be reassessing their presence in certain markets, choosing to focus on areas where they have a stronger advantage, or see better growth prospects.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about some overall market trends.
Okay.
Some companies posting strong earnings this quarter, while others are voicing some concerns.
Mixed bag.
What's the overall picture?
Well, it is a mixed bag, pretty typical for any market. You have companies like KLCCP, who manage iconic buildings like the Petronas Towers
Right.
doing very well, rebound in tourism and consumer spending. Then you have companies like Signature International. They make kitchen cabinets and furniture, seeing their profits soar due to increased demand. And SP Setia, big property developer, reporting impressive numbers driven by strategic land sales.
So there are definitely some bright spots. But are there any potential storm clouds on the horizon?
Well, some analysts are worried about things like currency fluctuations, the value of the ringgit going up and down, and what they see as a weakening in consumer spending.
Okay.
These factors could potentially put a damper on overall market performance.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that there are always risks to consider. Diversification is key.
Well said.
All right, so let's talk about some of those bigger picture items, like the government's plan for those free flow tolls.
Yeah, the idea of just cruising through toll plazas without stopping sounds amazing.
Right. No more stopping at those toll booths.
Right.
But it sounds like there might be some bumps in the road.
Yeah, apparently the companies that actually operate the highways aren't too thrilled about the idea.
Yeah, there's pushback from the highway concessionaires.
Makes sense.
They're worried about the cost of implementing the new system.
Yeah.
It involves a lot of tech upgrades. Plus, there's the issue of potential toll evasion.
Oh, yeah. How do you make sure everyone's paying if there are no barriers?
Exactly.
That's a tough one. Okay, let's shift gears again. The timber industry's plan to reach record-breaking export numbers by 2025.
Yeah, that's a bold target.
It is.
And the ministry seems pretty confident. They're banking on the fact that global demand for timber is rising.
Okay.
They're promoting several initiatives to make Malaysia's timber industry even more competitive.
But there are always challenges, right?
Of course.
Like sustainability, deforestation. Those are big concerns when it comes to the timber industry.
It's absolutely right to raise those points.
Yeah. And wouldn't Malaysia face some stiff competition from other big timber-producing countries?
Sustainability is a huge concern globally.
Right.
Malaysia will need to demonstrate that its timber industry is operating responsibly, ethically, to maintain its market share. And yes, competition is fierce.
For sure.
Other countries in Southeast Asia, South America, Africa, they're all major players in the timber trade.
So Malaysia's going to have to really step up its game to hit those export targets. Speaking of the global stage, we can't ignore what's happening in the U.S.
The return of Donald Trump.
It's a big deal.
Sending ripples through the global market.
Yeah, there are definitely concerns about his policies, especially when it comes to trade with China.
Exactly. Any trade tensions between those two economic giants could have a big impact on emerging markets like Malaysia.
And we're already seeing predictions about our currency, the ringgit weakening.
Yeah, if those trade tensions escalate.
How vulnerable do you think Malaysia is to all of this?
Well, the global economy is interconnected.
True.
There's no way to completely isolate ourselves from what's happening in other parts of the world.
Right.
But Malaysia has a diverse economy and has shown resilience in the past.
It's okay. That's somewhat reassuring. Now let's zoom back in on the Malaysian stock market.
Okay.
We've got some new companies listing their shares and a few potential game changers to discuss. First up, Top Vision Eye Specialist is moving to the ACE market, hoping to raise millions in capital.
Big move.
What's the significance of this?
Well, moving to the ACE market, which is designed for companies with higher growth potential, gives Top Vision more visibility and attracts a wider pool of investors.
Okay.
They're aiming to use this capital to expand their network of eye care centers and even establish a new international specialist center.
It sounds like they have big plans. And then we have TMK Chemical.
Yes.
A company backed by a prominent Malaysian business family.
I've heard of them.
Gearing up for a major listing on the main market.
They're hoping to raise even more capital.
Hundreds of millions.
To fund their expansion plans. Double their manufacturing capacity and even considering acquisitions.
Wow.
To grow their presence in the region.
Ambitious.
It's a company with a good track record. Their listing could be attractive to investors interested in the industrial sector.
Now, this next one has been generating a lot of buzz. 99 Speedmart.
Since their listing a couple of months ago,
they've been doing well.
Their value has skyrocketed.
Yeah, people are speculating they could be included in the FBM KLCI.
The benchmark index for the top companies.
Exactly.
What are the odds?
It's certainly a possibility, but not a guarantee.
Right.
Their rapid rise in value has put them on the radar. Their current size would technically qualify them.
But it's not that simple, right?
Right.
It's not just about being big enough.
The index provider looks at a lot of factors, not just size.
Okay.
How easy it is to buy and sell the company's shares. How much of the company is actually available to be traded.
Makes sense. Now, another company making a comeback and potentially vying for a spot in the KLCI is Gamuda.
Their share price has more than doubled this year.
That's impressive.
It is, driven by strong earnings,
Okay.
a healthy pipeline of projects,
Yeah.
and their involvement in those major infrastructure developments.
Right. They've even been catching the eye of foreign investors.
They're back in the game.
Okay.
This has been a whirlwind tour of the Malaysian market.
It has.
We've covered a lot of ground company news, global trends, potential market movers.
We have.
But there's still more to explore.
Absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface.
Okay.
There are deeper layers to these stories, and it's important to connect the dots to see how it all fits together.
Well, let's dive even deeper then. What other insights do you have?
It's really striking how much change is happening.
Oh, yeah.
As we've been discussing all these companies and market events, it's like a transformation unfolding right before our eyes.
Transformation, huh?
Okay.
I'm intrigued. What do you mean?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
Hyundai's investment is a game changer for Malaysia's automotive landscape.
Yeah.
And that potential free trade agreement with South Korea could reshape how our businesses interact with a key global partner.
Yeah.
Plus, you have companies like Mr. DIY and IJM venturing beyond our borders, transforming themselves in the process.
Wow. You're right. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day news and miss the bigger picture.
Everything's in flux, constantly evolving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a Malaysian thing.
No.
This is happening globally.
It is a global phenomenon.
The rise of AI.
The push for sustainable practices in every industry. Digital technology changing everything.
So for someone like me trying to make sense of the market and make good investment decisions, what does all this mean?
It means we need to be adaptable,
Okay.
forward thinking. Can't just rely on what worked in the past.
Right.
Understand these forces of change.
Yeah.
Look for companies embracing these transformations.
Embrace the transformation.
Wow.
I like that. Any advice on how to spot those companies?
Yeah.
The ones that are ready for the future?
Well, don't be afraid to challenge your assumptions.
Okay.
The world's changing faster than ever. What was once considered a safe bet
Right.
might not be anymore.
Okay.
Stay curious. Do your research. And don't limit yourself to just one sector or type of company.
That's great advice. As always, I really appreciate your insights. This has been a really interesting look at the Malaysian market and the forces shaping our world.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on the Malaysia Money Matters Show.
We hope you found this deep dive insightful and engaging.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more in-depth analysis.
And insights into the Malaysian market.
Until next time, happy investing.
If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities uncovered from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at m-moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, you will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian-listed companies. I'll see you again soon at m-moneymatters.substack.com.